friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 11 of Bookmas. In today's video, we're going to be discussing 2026 new releases that I am really excited for and that I would love to read at some point in 2026. So we're going to be going over new releases for fiction, fantasy, and romance because those are the three genres that I really stick to. So I'm just going to be going over those, but we do have quite a long list for those three genres. So get cozy, grab a drink, and let's talk about some books. Starting with the romance books, the first book I want to talk about is The Someday Garden by Ashley Poston. This book comes out on June 16th. It is a standalone romance, and I absolutely love Ashley Poston's writing. I think it is so whimsical and so cute. And in this book, our FMC is returning to her hometown, and from there, she ends up connecting with this neglected garden. And I think the story is kind of just following her rebuilding her life and rebuilding this garden. And we also have an emotionally grounded, steady FMC love interest in this hometown as well. So this one sounds really good. It sounds like it's going to be an emotional slow burn. And again, I just really love Ashley Poston's writing. So I can't wait for that one. It also comes out around my birthday. And then the next book I have to talk about is Just Friends by Haley Pham. This one comes out on March 3rd. It is a standalone contemporary romance with heavy character driven romance, and I believe this is also a friends to lovers with deep emotional history between our characters. So I am really excited for this one. I've also heard that it has a lot of internal monologue and like small kind of like pining thoughtful moments, so I'm super excited for that one. I'm hoping the dialogue and the banter in that one is really good, but honestly I love Haley Pham and I have been so excited to read this book and just kind of see what her writing style is like. So that one comes out on March 3rd. And then we have Dolly All the Time by Annabelle Monaghan. This one comes out on May 26th. It is also a character driven romance, and from what I could find about it, it's about a woman who is reassessing her life and her relationship expectations, and it focuses heavy on personal growth and self-discovery. But I love the way that this author ties in her romance. Like, she always has such a good balance between emotional intimacy and personal development and character development, and I really love that. So I'm super excited for that one. And then we have Whiskey Woman by Victoria Wilde. I've never heard of this author, so I am super excited to read this one. I've heard this is more of a dark, gritty contemporary romance, and it says that our FMC is emotionally messy and possibly destructive, and our MMC is equally flawed, magnetic, but complicated. That sounds amazing. That sounds like exactly what I want right now. And it says that it explores desires, addiction, and emotional dependency. It says that there's morally gray characters, messy romance, and high emotional intensity. Sounds like the characters are not going to be making great choices, and I love reading about messy, toxic relationships and characters. So I'm really excited for that one. Also, I love the metaphor of whiskey. I just think that is such a beautiful metaphor. And then we have Fever Dream by Elsie Silver. This one comes out on May 19th. This is a small town contemporary romance, and from what I could find, our FMC is very independent, guarded, and emotionally layered, while our MMC is confident, protective, and emotionally grounded. So it says that there's immediate attraction with emotional walls on both sides, and that sounds really good. And then one of the tropes that was listed for this book was forced proximity, and I feel like Elsie Silver does an okay job at balancing between spice and like emotional connection and personal character development. But I'm not going to be too bummed if I don't get to this one next year, because I still need to read the last book of the Chestnut Spring series, and then I also need to read the new series that she just came out with. So hopefully I can get to this one. It's Fever Dream by Elsie Silver. It comes out on May 19th. But again, if I don't get to that one, it's okay. And then we have The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez. 2026 is the year that I jump into Abby Jimenez's books. I don't think I'm going to start with this one specifically. I'm definitely wanting to jump into her books in 2026. I've heard that her writing is very like emotional and very beautiful romance. And this one specifically, it said that it was a emotional contemporary romance and it leans heavy into grief. And lately I've been in the mood for romances that feel more grounded and realistic instead of just light and fluffy. Obviously, I still love my light and fluffy romances, but I also really love romances that have a little bit of a gut punch twist to them. So I'm super excited for that one, and I'm super excited to check out Abby Jimenez's writing. So that one comes out on March 24th. And then we have And Now Back to You by BK Borison. This one comes out on February 24th, and I believe it is the sequel to First Time Caller, which I do still need to read First Time Caller before I read this book, but this one says that it is a contemporary second chance romance and it focuses heavy on reflection and personal growth. And what really pulled me into this one was the idea of two people connecting after such a long time apart. I'm thinking this one's going to be more of an emotional romance as well. Then we have Mistakes Were Made by Lucy Score. This one comes out on March 10th, and I honestly couldn't find too much about this one, but what I did find said that it was a messy, complicated romance with a high emotional stake. And Lucy Score is great for when I just want a fast paced, like high intensity and chemistry read, and I honestly feel like I will fly through that one. So that's Mistakes Were Made by Lucy Score, and it comes out on March 10th. And then the last romance book we have for 2026 new releases is The Shippers by Catherine Center. This one comes out on May 19th. It is more of a softer contemporary romance, so I'm hoping to read that one when I'm in the mood for a slower, softer romance. I believe it is also very character driven and has a focus on personal growth as well, so super excited for that one. It comes out on May 19th. But those are all of the romance books that I could find that are being released in 2026 that kind of caught my eye. So now let's go ahead and jump into the 2026 releases for fantasy. Starting off strong with Starside by Alex Astor. This one comes out on March 24th. This is the start of her new series, I believe, and I added it because I really just like Alex Astor's writing style, and I love the way that she balances like high stakes with a very readable, fast-paced like storyline. Like it's very easy to keep up with, and from what I've heard, this one really leans into like power and competition. So I'm expecting it to be dramatic, bingeable, and very plot forward. The kind of fantasy that easily sucks you in. I feel like her writing kind of sucks me in. It's very whimsical as well, so I'm super excited for that one. And then we have Graceless Heart by Isabel Ibanez. This one is more of an emotional fantasy with a lush world building. I've heard that it has a lot of inner conflict, and I've heard that this author's writing tends to be very atmospheric, which is something I really enjoy. So I'm super excited for this one. I've been wanting more of an emotional fantasy rather than an action packed fantasy, so I feel like that will be perfect for when I'm in that mood, and that one comes out on January 13th. And then we have The Astral Library by Kate Quinn. This one comes out on February 17th, and this is a fantasy that is centered around a mysterious magical library that has the ability to connect other worlds or ideas. And I'm always drawn to like a book centered read, and I feel like it's very immersive and cozy, so I'm really expecting this one to be magical. And then we have Agnes's Albert's Magical Cat Shelter. This one is by Heather Fawcett. It is a cozy fantasy about running a shelter for magical cats. That alone sounds so good and so cozy. I love having at least one book on my TBR that is just purely a comfort, cozy read. I feel like this book is going to be perfect for that. It feels so gentle and so cozy. I believe that one comes out on February 3rd. We have The Book Witch by Meg Schaffer. This one comes out on April 7th, and it is another bookish centered fantasy. This one we are following a witch who protects stories and knowledge in books, which sounds so fun and so interesting. And I love like quiet bookish magic. I feel like this one's going to be very comforting and magical, so I can't wait for that one. It comes out on April 7th. And then we have Broken Dove by Danny Francis. This is the sequel to Silver Elite, and this one comes out on May 12th. I haven't read Silver Elite yet. I definitely need to read that one before this one comes out. But for what I could find on this one, it says that it is a darker fantasy that explores loss, resilience, and rebuilding. I'm really hoping that the series is immersive and not too heavy or not too like action heavy. Either way, I need to read Silver Elite before Broken Dove comes out. And then we have The Midnight Train by Matt Haig. This one comes out on May 5th, and I love the way that Matt Haig does his storytelling, and his writing is so whimsical. I honestly cannot wait for this one. And it says that it is a fantasy that takes place on a magical train that travels between worlds. That alone also sounds so freaking good. And I love stories that use like travel as the central fantasy element. I think that is so fun, and I feel like this one is going to be very immersive and mysterious, so I cannot wait for that one. And those are all the fantasy books that I could find for 2026 that I was interested in. So let's go ahead and move on to the fiction releases for 2026. I was only able to find 4 that kind of caught my attention. The first one is This Is Not About Us by Allegra Goodman. This one comes out on February 10th, and from what I could find about it, it is more of an emotional read with a focus on like complicated relationships and internal conflict. And I feel like it's going to be more introspective than plot heavy, and I'm expecting it to be kind of thought provoking and character driven. And that one comes out on February 10th. So, super excited for that one. I love a character driven, complicated relationship type of book. And then we have Hovel by Alyssa Ross. This one comes out on March 13th. And from what I could find about this one, it is more of a dark, atmospheric story with a slow unraveling of someone living in a confined, decaying space. I honestly added this one because I was really drawn to the setting and like how much the setting shapes the story. And I believe this is more of like a psychological tension type of read rather than like a heavy plot action book. So I'm honestly expecting it to be kind of an unnerving, slow burn type of book. So that is Hovel by Alyssa Ross. And then we have I Love You, Don't Die by Jade Song. I honestly couldn't find much on this book either. But what I did find is that it is an emotional contemporary novel that deals with love, loss, and fear. I added this one because I've really been loving books that aren't afraid to kind of sit in the messy aspects of life and kind of dive into like overwhelming emotion. And from what I could find, this is more of a raw and emotionally honest, like vulnerable type of story. So I'm super excited for this one. I'm expecting it to be very intense and emotional. So that one comes out on March 17th. And then the last fiction book and the last book that I could find for my 2026 new releases is This a Cry for Help by Emily Austen. And this one comes out on January 13th. And from what I could find about it, it is a contemporary novel that follows a main character dealing with mental health struggles while trying to keep up appearances in daily life. And from what I've heard, this one mixes kind of a dark humor with internal conflict. I'm honestly expecting this book to be really relatable, so I'm really looking forward to that one. But those are all of the 2026 new releases that either caught my eye or that I was able to find. And if I missed any, please don't be afraid to comment below what they are. If you feel like there's any 2026 new releases that I didn't mention in this video, but you feel like I would enjoy it, please comment below. I could always use more recommendations. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and check back in tomorrow for the last day of Bookmas. Bye!